Hello, Ivan. Hello, everybody.
Justin, hey everybody, how you going?
I'm really well, thank you. How are you doing?
Yeah, fantastic. That's such a wonderful introduction there. I feel like I'm in Hollywood.
It's pretty good, isn't it? Anita, one of our admins, put that little treasure together. We should put a couple of them together, actually.
Yeah,
And it's all members' photos. So members that we've spoken to and asked for their permission. So it's actually reflective of our membership, which is great.
it is fantastic. Congratulations. Well done.
It's been a while since we've done a live, actually. It was shortly after Anzac Day. So thanks for joining us today, mate, to have a chat about the fundraiser and Soldier On's work. Really excited to have a bit of a chat.
Look, absolutely. As CEO of Soldier On, I'm delighted with the amazing work that you and your team have done with the Driveway at Dawn movement. I mean, it gets referred to as a grassroots movement, but we know who the movement is. It's you guys, and it was really embraced by so many people nationally, and with 250,000 people that have followed your page, Aussies and Kiwis for Anzacs and the Driveway at Dawn movement. It's just been phenomenal, and it's quite amazing that you would think that would have been just a bit of a once-off thing, but that momentum has continued, and there's definitely a great grassroots fantastic underlying movement there, and congratulations to you and your team. We're delighted. Soldier On's delighted to be a part of it.
Thanks, Ivan. Yeah, and you're right. I mean, it started as just a group of individuals across the eastern seaboard. We laid down roots for that grass in over 100 countries. So we managed to bypass the agricultural immigration rules and put seeds down in 100 countries for grass to grow. So I would refer to us still as a volunteer, everyday people organisation, but we've certainly grown beyond what would traditionally be called grassroots. Hey.
Yeah, look, absolutely. I mean, the interesting thing there's always a silver lining in every pandemic, and I think the silver lining here is that we wouldn't have really looked at an initiative like this, we would have continued the tradition of a normal dawn service, normal marching commemoration. And I think what this has done is really opened it up to so many more people who are either mobility impaired, those who just have trouble getting up, and getting up, getting dressed, jumping in the car, driving to somewhere for a dawn service. It's such a respectful way of being able to reflect and to commemorate Anzac Day. And I think it's something, even when we go back to physically being at a dawn service and marching and so forth, I think there still will be many people that will embrace this concept of a driveway at dawn. And of course, there'll still be people that go to a dawn service, and we want that to happen. But I think you've really captured something which will continue, not just in 2020, but for years to come.
We agree. And the feedback that we've had from quite a staggering number of our members has been the same. What we found this year was people who had never really been involved in any kind of commemoration service joined in for Anzac Day for the first time. I spoke with one friend of mine. She's a lovely lady. She's a psychologist, and she said she doesn't go to dawn services because she'll be a blubbering mess in public. So this year she did it in the driveway because she knew she was safe to be a blubbering mess, and wants to continue doing that for years to come. So
yeah,
we're just really humbling.
Yeah, we're in discussions at the moment with a 97-year-old Kokoda veteran, and he also doesn't go to services, and I think this is also an option for him, as long as he can get the technology working. But yeah, look, it's amazing how many ex-service personnel actually don't attend the service, but did attend the driveway at dawn, because I think I found it very special. I mean, Anzac Day was very special for me, and it really resonated with my family and those in my street, as it did with so many of your people that are involved in your movement. It's fantastic.
Well, that actually leads into the first question I was going to ask you. You've started to answer it. You obviously started off your Anzac Day in your driveway, but you had a pretty busy day, didn't you, mate? You had a few other things on.
Yeah,
Do you want to walk
so
through the rest
so I
of
was
your day?
getting dressed up in the suit nice and early. I started off the day with your service and the virtual candle. Had your app running. Was out on the balcony of our place in O'Malley in Canberra, nice and cool in the morning there. And a number of people in the street were out as well, so I could see some people left and right in the street. So I had your app open with virtual candle. I also had my iPad up there with the actual video service streaming from the Australian War Memorial, and my wife and my son who live with me as well. So we were all out together, and yeah, we did that at 6 o'clock through to about 6:30. Straight after that, we were then on the sunrise program. So then quickly they jumped into TV mode for that. We then also Soldier On put together a video commemorative service on Anzac Day, which we streamed live from our website. And we had 120,000 unique views of our commemorative service. And for anyone that wants to watch that, it's still available on YouTube. So we switched it over from our website to our YouTube channel. So if people search Soldier On YouTube, they can subscribe or just watch the commemorative service. So it's now just picking up extra views on YouTube itself. But overall, about 120,000 views. And we also did a live stream with a number of our service ambassadors like Dave Savage, Ben Farinazzo, and we also had Shannon Knoll. Shannon recorded "I Was Only 19" song, as you know, and he did a bit of a rendition for us on a stream, and that's also available on our YouTube channel. So it was a very, very busy morning, and yeah, I think by about 11 o'clock, I think I was exhausted. I think you were pretty exhausted, and of course you had your 105 songs, which I listened to that in the afternoon. So that was there was more of a chillaxing part in the afternoon, listening to your 105 songs that you put together.
Yeah, the 105 songs didn't quite come off as we had hoped, but so it was a scramble at the end to get it all together. I think it was late in the afternoon by the time we finished getting everything ready and queued, and it was already running in the world of the interwebs. So I think it was about 6 p.m. that I did a thank you live stream, and I'll tell you, after that I bombed. I absolutely crashed.
Yeah, no. I think it was a recorded version. I must have been listening to the 105 songs. Yeah,
it was. Yeah, yep, that's right. The capability of doing it live just fell apart at the last moment, unfortunately. But onward and upward for next year, I say.
Yeah, I think we'll sort that technology out. I know you were quite frustrated at the time, but that's technology for you. And I think one of the problems, I think with your I think you were saying there were some bandwidth issues just with the cellular networks with the morning, where people were concerned it was your app, but it was actually just so many people accessing the mobile network at the time that it was freezing for a few people. So yeah, it is mobile technology. As you and I used to work in the telco sector, so we.
That's the one. Even the Australian War Memorial's Facebook page, they took the service down in the end because it was just full of chop. For very much the same reason. There was just so many people accessing it. We'll never know the exact numbers, but the estimates around the world were in the vicinity of about 30 million people, which is staggering. That's Australia and New Zealand combined.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, Anzac Day really is it's our national day, really.
It is.
Australia Day has become so contentious nowadays. So I think a lot of people are gravitating to Anzac Day being our national day.
Yeah. I'd agree with that. So, do you want to tell us a bit about what Soldier On's been up to?
Yeah. So I'll just. Sorry, my watch is calling. Yeah, so Soldier On is definitely going from strength to strength. I've been in the role for 10 months now. I started in late September, and so our vision is to enable veterans and their families to thrive. We use the HELP acronym to describe what we do. H is for health and well-being, E for employment, L for learning, and P for participation. So we've really increased our participant numbers quite substantially. So a lot of what we do is preventative measures. So that is providing employment service for Australian Defence Force personnel transitioning from the military to civilian life. So interestingly, about 40% of all the participants on our books are still serving people who are looking to transition out of the military. So it's not like we're encouraging them to get out of the military. It's really more them coming to us to transition out. We also, so it's about 171 organisations that have signed the Soldier On Pledge for employment, and we've also worked with the DVA through an enhanced employment grant that we've received from DVA to really turbocharge that, and we've put on 12 more people just recently in that employment space. So when I see some of the comments there about what Soldier On does. So just to be really clear, we don't receive money to then just hand out to veterans. That's sort of DVA's there with a big budget to hand out gold cards and pensions and money to veterans. So what we do is the funding that gets raised for us, so like the wonderful $80,000 that's been raised so far through your movement, goes towards funding our program so that we can deliver for veterans. So, for example, a psychologist typically costs between $90,000 to $120,000 a year to employ to provide psychological services for those veterans suffering PTSD or mental health type issues. So, Open Arms, for example, is a government-funded organisation, and typically they're around $120,000 a year, that sort of thing. So. We try to keep our costs because there's a bit of a voluntary component with Soldier On. So we have around 50 employees and 250 active volunteers. So we have 5 volunteers for every paid employee at Soldier On. So the funding that we get really helps fund those positions that provide the psychological services. We have psychologists, the employment services, the learning and education services, and our activities program, our social connection program. So we have activities right across the country. We're headquartered in Canberra, but we have offices in Sydney, in Manly and Concord, and we're about to open Fussell House at Concord Hospital. In fact, we just had a meeting with the Sydney Local Health District guys that work on that.
That's great.
We're in Brisbane, Adelaide, Melbourne, Perth, Brisbane, Newcastle, Port Macquarie, Albury, Wodonga, and we're employing someone in Darwin and in Hobart, and we're looking to set up operations in Kiama and in southeast Queensland on the Gold Coast. So Soldier On is definitely expanding its operation and reach. Because if you think about how many 290,000 people have served since 1990. If you take their family members, there's about 1 million people that have a direct relationship with the Australian Defence Force over the last 30 years.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's staggering, isn't it? Absolutely staggering numbers.
Yeah, no, it's a huge number. Our number of participants have grown substantially. So we've gone from about 2,500 participants to around 5,000 participants and they come and go. So like there might be someone who comes to us to transition from the ADF to civilian life. We help them with that transition and that's it. There's that interaction, and they may come back later on for activities program or to get some more education. So we have 27 education institutions. So University of South Australia recently signed up with us, and we're working on a number of other universities, but there's registered training organisations, there's colleges, universities that have partnered with us to provide recognition of prior learning but also training programs. So there's RTOs that give quite heavy discounts for the veterans that we have on our books to help them get skilled up. Because one of the things I say is that there are some positions in the military that are easily transitionable into the civilian life, but there's some that are pretty tough. I mean, if you're a skilled artificer, on a howitzer, or you're skilled at firing a howitzer artillery piece, there's not too many applications of that in the civilian world. So you need to reskill and recognise prior learning to transition into a different role. But hey, if you're a cook, it's easier to get a job as a chef. So there's different types of roles. And the other thing is people in really senior ranks, like brigadiers and lieutenant colonels and lieutenant and major generals. It's a little bit easier for them to transition because they're in high demand to be on boards and in management positions and so forth. But it's often more difficult for lower ranks to get the same sort of breaks. So we really help them with working on their CV, interviewing techniques, and getting a job. So we've got about 600 jobs up on our job board at any time in terms of jobs available for veterans and their families.
I remember in one of the conversations we had around the recognition of prior learning, to use your example of the artillery people, that recognition of prior learning can perhaps be applied to surveying, or somebody who worked with machinery and the transportation of goods could be skilled and recognised for competency in supply chain and logistics, for instance. It's quite fascinating what you're doing. Is you don't think you don't immediately think that somebody who was in the military doing transport can then move straight over to someone like toll, for instance.
Yeah.
Start the supply chain. You don't immediately think like that, do you?
Yeah, well, you think about, a towed artillery piece requires a truck to tow the piece of artillery, to assemble it, to fire it, and there's applications in civilian world. There's like logistics and supply management. So it's working with organisations that can recognise that prior learning, or RPL is the acronym that's used for that, and then obtain the appropriate qualification. And if there is a skill shortage in one area, then we make sure that people attend the various courses in order to be able to obtain those skills, either with employment or with the view of obtaining employment. But we do all that, and there's a whole heap of activities programs that we run. So the activities are quite varied. It's from sailing on Sydney Harbour. We ran a surf camp up on the north coast of New South Wales last weekend. We did, in fact, it was my wife who ran sea glass making here in Canberra, and it was oversubscribed. We've now got another session planned. We've got a whole bunch of guitars that have been donated that we're going to distribute to bushfire affected schools and areas in the coming weeks. To Dungeons and Dragons over in Perth. So I mean, it really is quite varied. Archery, golf. We've got a big golf program planned, which we're calling the Soldier On Golf VETAM, and that's where we will have. It'll be called the Thompson Cup, after a lovely lady who gave a very significant bequest to Soldier On. So it'll be called the Thompson Cup after her. Thank you for her donation. And it'll be in Brisbane, Sydney, Canberra, Melbourne, Adelaide and Perth, with 20 teams, Ambrose, and the winning team from each of those competitions will play in a championship in Canberra. So it kicks off on the 3rd of December at Royal Canberra. We're going to try to play the Royals, Royal Canberra, Royal Melbourne, Royal Adelaide, Royal Perth, Royal Queensland. Royal Sydney's out of action, so we're going to go to Concord, which is next to our offices at Concord, and also Fussell House, which is at Concord Hospital. I probably should just mention Fussell House. So will be. Yeah, so Fussell House is an outpatient facility for veterans, run by the Sydney Local Health District and Concord Hospital that we're in partnership with. and we're hoping for that facility to be available from the middle of August. It'll be a 20-room outpatient facility. The founder of Soldier On, John Bale, was quite instrumental in securing $6.8 million from the federal government to give to Concord Hospital to construct it. And Soldier On will be running all the activities out of that centre. But we also refer veterans onto Concord Hospital for treatment with health issues.
It sounds like a bit of a win for you, mate. That's fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's named after Fussell, who was a mate of John Bales, who was killed in Afghanistan. So yeah, unfortunately we can't do a big bang opening because of COVID. But yeah, the facility will be up and running hopefully by middle of August. So if anyone listening to this needs any help from a mental health or any health related issue and they're a veteran, please reach out to Soldier On because we can provide that direct referral to Concord Hospital and that facility. Particularly, so if you're outside, it's a bit like Ronald McDonald House for Kids in hospital. So there's one in Canberra, Ronald McDonald House, and so the idea is if someone is outside of the area, a family member can stay at the facility whilst the veteran is receiving treatment at Concord Hospital. So indeed, if someone is, it doesn't have to be injury in action, but there are often many veterans who are injured whilst serving or after their service, so they can receive their treatment at Concord Hospital and their family can be there at Buswell House to support them.
That's great. That's really, mate, that's amazing. I had no idea that you were doing that. When I first came across Soldier On, it was early February this year, just before all of our lockdown happened, during the Walk Off the Wall Within event that was held here in Ballarat, and I met your Melbourne-based team who came up for the day. Yeah. And I had no idea that you were growing and putting in these fantastic programs at hospitals and so forth. That's terrific.
Yeah, I mean, and all this costs money. So we obviously have to have an activities person located at Concord Hospital. So even though we've got this $6.8 million, that all that money went straight to Concord Hospital to build it, but we've received no government funding to put a person full time at the facility to run the activities program. So for example, this $80,000 that's been raised from your wonderful movement can go towards paying for a person to be located at that facility. So $80,000 is like a pretty good number. That if people want to have like a tangible understanding of where their money's going, now this is a person that will be located at the facility to help veterans and their families, for example. But that money goes into our general funding pocket, so we can fund all these. And think of that position at Concord Hospital. We've got 50 people that provide all these type of services right across the country for veterans. We calculate that anywhere around 5,000 to 6,000 participants are using our services at any point in time, and that's quite a lot of people, and it all costs money. And we have, like I said, we've also got a very significant volunteer program. So if anyone watching and listening to this wants to volunteer with Soldier On, they can go to our website and fill in the volunteer form, and we'd love to talk to anybody that would like to help Soldier On deliver, enabling veterans and their families to thrive.
Good on you, Ivan. Thank you. So what's the future for Soldier On? I mean, you've got a lot going on in the works at the moment. What's your longer term, 5-10 year vision?
Yeah, look, I think it's really important that we really adhere to our vision of enabling veterans and their families to thrive. And we like to use that word thrive because not all veterans are broken people. I mean, like there is this rhetoric around broken veterans, and the level of suicide amongst veterans is higher than the general population, and that's true, and that's very tragic. It's a national tragedy. But by the same token, there's a whole bunch of veterans who, we need to help transition from the military to civilian life, and that's what we do. We're very much focused on contemporary veterans, so we resonate a lot with younger veterans. And just talking about that a little bit, I mean, if you really think about it, those people who serve in the Australian Defence Force are prepared to put their life on the line to protect our way of life. And
right.
I think we take it. You think about how many people are prepared to dodge a bullet to protect our way of life. And if you look about you look at the instability around the world and how well Australia has managed COVID. There are people that are prepared to put their lives on the line. Often the remuneration is not as great as what they could get in civvy world.
Civvy world, yeah.
Yeah. So, and same with people working at Soldier On. Most of us here take a salary that's less than one would get working in a civilian role, in a non-defence type role. And same with yourself. I mean, like you've done all this with like for free, on a volunteer basis, and it's congratulations to you and your team. It's just amazing. So what Soldier On wants to do, if we look at a 5 to 10 year vision, is to be able to provide more of our help type services to veterans and their families, and we're expanding into Darwin, into Hobart, into Kiama, into Southeast Queensland. So we also talk to other ex-service organisations to make sure that we try as much as possible not to duplicate what we do. So we speak with the RSL, with Mates for Mates, Young Veterans, so Wounded Warriors, all these other ex-service organisations that exist out there to make sure that, for example, Mates for Mates have there's all these veteran hubs that are going putting in place around the country, and there's a veteran hub going up into Darwin, and the government's allocated $5 million to build that veteran hub that Mates for Mates will be putting in. So we will put our resource into that facility that Mates for Mates will be running. So we do work together with other ex-service organisations to ensure that there isn't any duplication, and from time to time there will be. We have a look to see where the need is. So, for example, when I mentioned Southeast Queensland and Northern New South Wales, there's a big demand for services from Soldier On in that area, and that's why we're looking to see whether we expand into that area. So yeah, like it's really providing more of what we do into more areas, Justin, is really the plan. I think it's also trying to stick to what we do and not we don't, for example, do advocacy. That's something that the RSL is really good at. Also, veteran homelessness. I think there's other organisations that do that. So we try to be really clear as to what we're doing, and it's a health and well-being, employment, learning, and participation through social connection. It's those 4 things, and trying to provide it to more. So we're wanting within that 5 to 10 year time frame to double or triple the amount of participants that we can provide our services. Because we do, there's a 6-month wait, for example, for the provision of psychological services in Canberra at the moment. The demand is quite high. So, and that's why we've got that association with Concord Hospital, for example, and with Open Arms to refer people where if we can't provide that service, to refer them to the right resources to be able to deliver those services.
So I guess another $100,000 in your coffers would get another psychologist on board and shorten that wait time in Canberra, wouldn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that is just so true. So. And of course, like I wouldn't want your viewers and listeners to think that it's just all about people want money. But by the same token, people are professional and they need to earn an income to provide these services, and that, like I said, the ratio that we have is about a 5-to-1 ratio. So we have, for every paid employee at Soldier On, we have 5 volunteers. So we have an enormous volunteer base that's supporting all the services that we provide as well. And the funding also helps with our mechanisms to be able to deliver that. So we use a system called Razor's Edge to help run our volunteer program and our CRM. And I think it's also important, like my background is from the corporate world, so it's having that corporate governance in place for our organisation as well. And being a not-for-profit, you really have to be professional. I think not-for-profits are becoming more and more professional every day, and that's what we want to do at Soldier On as well, to deliver professional services for veterans and their families.
Yep. No, I agree. And I did some homework the other day that in the NFP space, the average CEO earns 125 to 150,000, whereas in the corporate world, the average CEO is closer to 7.5 million per year. So it's something that you do for love. I mean, I've worked with you in the corporate sphere before, in telcos. We both know that you and I could go and work in that space and live a very comfortable lifestyle. But there's more to it, isn't there, for you and for me?
Yeah, it's certainly not doing it for the money. The motivation is, and I say this to my staff members as well, and that is, you've got the cause has really got to resonate. And what everyone should do in life, I think, is you should really be pursuing something that really resonates with you. If it's children, do school teaching, childcare. If it's veterans, it's being in the ADF, working for DVA, or ex-service organisations like Soldier On. There are many military people there's a lot of military defence related companies, many of who support Soldier On, like BAE Systems is a fantastic supporter, Raytheon, Northrop Grumman, Boeing, Qantas. Those last two are 2 organisations that have, amazingly, take Boeing for example. They've been hit pretty hard with the demand for aircraft reducing substantially, but believe it or not, they are still going to provide some financial support to Soldier On. We're speaking to them right now, which is just amazing when you consider Qantas has got 100 planes parked, not being used at the moment, and people cancelling orders for airlines. But doing stuff that you're really passionate about, and everyone, I can tell you, everyone working at Soldier On and our volunteers are very, very passionate about veterans and their families, and giving back to them, standing side by side with them to help secure their futures is really what Soldier On is all about.
Good on you, Ivan. Thank you. We are going to take some questions in a minute, and I'll have to put my glasses on for that. So I'll apologise for the reflection of the screen coming back off my glasses. Before I take those questions, though, you and I had a really good conversation yesterday about issuing another 2,500 pins. And I know that our members are going to be really excited about that, but I want to put a caveat on it for now, guys. They take a few weeks to manufacture, and we're updating the website where you donate to capture all of the information that we're previously sending across via emails. So please don't go and donate to Soldier On through our link just yet, because it makes the process really unfriendly for you in comparison to what we'll have ready in a few days. And also be aware that there's going to be a bit of a wait before we can get those out into the post.
So
we're going to hit our 100,000 target, mate, and we're going to be able to help to reduce that waiting list for psychological services.
So there's the pin there. I'll hold it up to the screen. So it's a magnificent pin. Driveway at dawn. Aussies and Kiwis for Anzacs. Proud supporters of Soldier On.
Australian company, made of metal. They're not cheap plastic, nasty nylon things. I gave it the fridge magnet test. Yeah, quality manufacturing from a Queensland supplier. And with this new process that we'll have in place, we'll be able to ship them a lot faster than we were before, because we won't be manually having to copy addresses and so forth out of the emails, and having emails go missing and receipts not arriving, and spam filters and all that other fun stuff. So stay tuned, people. There will be another 2,500 announced very, very soon. Now, I'm going to jump into some questions.
I've become a collector's piece. I think it's very special. This will go on for many, many years. So this is the first year of the driveway and door movement.
That's it. There's lots of comments in here about getting pins. Lots of fantastic, job well done. I'll put some comments up while I look for any questions. Gordon Mack has asked, can we involve the RSL? You've already sort of spoken to your involvement with RSL, that you do work collaboratively to make sure that you're not duplicating or stepping on territory or anything like that.
Yeah, so Greg Malik, the president of RSL National, speaks quite regularly with the chairman of Soldier On, Peter Lay, who's the former chief of army. I meet with the RSL Queensland, RSL Victoria, RSL New South Wales. So Soldier On is already quite involved with the collaborative ways through DVA. So the ex-service organisation community does work together. So I think it's fair to say that the RSL is very well attuned to what Soldier On's doing.
Thanks, Ivan. We've got a question from Alan Cooney. Is there any possibility of opening something in Townsville?
Yeah, so look, my team's had a look at Townsville, and through our conversations with RSL Queensland and Mates for Mates, we believe that Townsville's quite well serviced through those two organisations. But look, if there's more of a demand than what's being supplied, happy to have a look at that. But yeah, at the moment we've just recently opened a new office in Brisbane, and we're looking at southeast Queensland. So I think Townsville, it really goes along the lines of where the ESOs try to work together to not duplicate what we're doing. So we're sort of thinking that Townsville is well serviced by other ex-service organisations at present.
You do some virtual classes and so forth, though, don't you? I noticed that you had some sort of COVID virtual classes and so forth, or service offerings happening. Is that something that Townsville can sign up for via the page, or? Yeah,
so we've got a thing called Connect Hub, and that's through our website. And yes, virtual services. We're providing virtual group psychological services, which have been a first for Soldier On under the COVID environment. We've also got Iron Chef, which is like a cooking virtual service. And we also had one of the instructors from Club Viva Leisure, who are great supporters of Soldier On. They give us 50 platinum club line memberships that we provide to veterans. So one of their trainers came in. So you can go to our YouTube channel and we've got those services been recorded and can be watched. But yeah, I would encourage people to go to our website, soldieron.org.au, and sign up through the Connect Hub, which is the provision of virtual services for veterans and their families.
Excellent. Ash is saying, if you want to open up in Townsville, she'll run it for you. Ash being one of the key leaders, or the main runner or operator of the Facebook group here with Aussies and Kiwis for Anzacs, also being ex-Navy and from a tri-military family. So very much across the has lived the experience of is living the experience of a veteran. So has a very deep understanding.
Yeah, and look, Townsville is a magnificent military town So yeah, look, I can understand the strong demand for services in Townsville. So yeah, we'll have to have a chat, Ash.
There's a comment here that I wanted to pop up because I don't think this can be said enough. From Denise Crittenden, she says, "Hi to Ivan and well done to everyone and to those who donated. For those that are needing help, please call and get your life back on track. Don't hesitate. Do it now. It's not just in the veterans space. I mean, Soldier Ons specifically work with veterans and help their families and themselves to thrive. But you would have heard, it's not weak to speak. Even in the civilian space, if you're needing help, reach out to your lifelines, your Soldier Ons, and those other groups that are there to support your support you in a crisis or support you when you're having any trouble. I've been there. I had a breakdown myself 2.5 years ago. It has been a tough slog, but I'm coming out the other side, and you wouldn't guess it by sitting on the other side of the screen there. But 2.5 years ago, I was in a really, really, really bad place. And it's through reaching out, asking for help, engaging with services and doctors and so forth that's brought me to where I am today. So I thank you for saying that, Denise, and please don't hesitate to get help if you need it.
Yeah, and look, Soldier On's here for veterans and their families. So anyone in that category, please PM us, phone us. It's all just the best resources to go through to our website. Alternatively, you can sign up and like a Facebook site. There's 85,000 people that have signed up to that. But we encourage more. And we provide regular updates on our Facebook site, on Instagram, on Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube. So yeah, we're quite active. And we are, watch your space. We are currently working with a pretty high profile publication in the military space. So we're working on an MOU, and hopefully we'll be able to announce that soon as well. I'm very excited about that as an opportunity to get the message out to more ADF personnel about what we do and how we can help.
And for those who don't know corporate acronyms, an MOU is a memorandum of understanding. So it's basically just a very simplex contract, if you like, or an agreement between the two parties that spells out what everybody's doing. Aussies and Anzac has an MOU with Soldier On around the fundraising, and what we need from Soldier On and what we will do in return in terms of shipping and so forth. So MOU, Memorandum of Understanding.
Yeah,
acronyms everywhere.
Sorry, I forgot.
That's okay. That's fine.
Have you got any other questions there?
We don't have any other questions. Just lots of really positive comments around, job well done and great work, Soldier On. Great work to those who donated and loving the pins and.
Can I just say that comment that just come up from Michael Harkins? Now, Michael is the CEO of the Chow Chak Wing Foundation, who are magnificent supporters of Soldier On. So they, the Chow Chak Wing recently provided $500,000 to Soldier On, and that money's going directly towards delivering our services in terms of psychological services, education, employment, and social connection right across all 4 streams. So it's lovely to see your comment there, Michael, and we're catching up with Michael next week. So it's great for him to reach out and to thank us in that way. Thank you, Michael, to you and the whole team at the Chow Chak Wing Foundation for supporting Soldier On. It's very much appreciated.
And I'm just scrambling to get the museum website so I can share it in the comments. There's an amazing museum that, of course, will be a little bit restricted, if not completely closed, right at this particular moment in time. Where is the link? I'm hunting. Sydney.edu. I don't know. This is not the right website. I will locate it and I will pop it in the I'll pop it in the chat after the live stream is complete.
But you're referring to the museum at Sydney University that Churchill Wing Foundation has funded, yes?
That's correct. Yeah, quite an amazing looking museum, actually. From what I can see online, of course, I can't visit it. The closest link I could find right now is just in the chat window for anybody who'd like to check it out. There's beautiful photos, quite a lot that you can see. And when those doors are reopened and so forth, I encourage everyone to go and have a look at that museum.
Yep.
Those are in the area anyway.
Yeah. So I'm not sure if it's open. Is it open? I don't think it's open yet. So
don't believe it is, but
the grand opening soon. So
excellent. Well, we are going to wrap it up in just a moment. I just want to reiterate to our friends out there that we are going to get more pins. I'm going to pop a picture of the pin up on the page now and do a terrible job of it. I've just taken over the two of us. Unfortunately, it's not lining up the way I'd like it, so we're hidden a little bit by it. But that is the graphic of what the pin looks like. It will be about 3.5 weeks before we're in a position, or 3 weeks before we're in a position to start mailing those. They have been ordered, but please don't go to the donation link until we update it to capture your address information at the time of donation. That will eliminate all of the clunkiness of forwarding receipts and yada, yada, yada. So it'll make it much simpler for you. It'll make it much faster and simpler for us as well. And I believe...
Well, yeah, I just made
the foundation there.
Yeah, no problems. Yeah, no, so, yeah, we're delighted with the association with Churchill Wing Foundation. That's awesome.
Equally proud to be associated with you.
Look, one of the things I would like to say, just from a parting message from myself, is thank you to everyone who has served and continues to serve. We do really recognise and appreciate your fabulous service in protecting our way of life. I'd like to really thank everyone that's donated to Soldier On, and like $80,000 is just amazing. And I think with these, we know there's a significant demand for these 2,500 pins. So I think that's going to take us up to close to $100,000, if not over $100,000, hopefully, which is just an enormous contribution. So I'd like to thank everyone for your donation. I can assure you that money is going towards enabling veterans and their families to thrive. It's going straight to help veterans.
Thanks, Ivan. And same thing. I'd like to say exactly the same thing. Thank you to everyone who's gotten behind the movement, who's donated to Soldier On. Thank you for your patience in receiving your pins. They have all been posted. If you donated and you haven't forwarded your receipt and your mailing address, then I encourage you to do so, please. Aussies and Kiwis for Anzacs @gmail.com. No AU, Aussies and Kiwis for Anzacs, all one word, @gmail.com. We might wrap it up there, Ivan. I'll let you get back to your very busy day. And thank you very much for coming and having a chat.
Well, hopefully, I mean, we were supposed to visit you last week. Unfortunately, the breakout in Victoria, we had like 20 meetings planned, including looking at the base in Albury and bases in Melbourne and visiting supporters, ambassadors and staff in Melbourne. So I am looking forward to hopefully this outbreak in Victoria can dissipate, so we can come and visit you and thank you personally. So like from the whole team here as well, Justin, thank you to you and Ash and all those people. I mean, those people don't realise how much work there is in stuffing those envelopes with the badges and posting. I mean, there's an enormous amount of work in just doing that.
I owe a few palmies because I did rake in some help. So there's a few palmies owed, but mate, it's been a pleasure. Honestly, it's a great achievement for us as well. We're all passionate about veteran affairs, passionate about Anzac Day, passionate about the respect and solemn commemoration of the fallen and those who continue to serve, and those who have served and continue to. So it's been a pleasure. Honestly, not once has it really felt like work. Actually, that's not true. A couple of times it's felt like work, when I've had to manage some of the really nasty comments that have been sent to us. But you know what? In a group of 250,000 people, you're going to get a couple of bad eggs, aren't you?
Exactly.
So, on the whole, it's been an amazing experience. It's very, very, very rarely felt like I'm actually working, and we look forward to doing it again next year.
Fantastic, and thanks everyone.
Thanks, Ivan. Good on you. I won't play the video outro. I'm just going to end it this time. So thanks, everybody. Enjoy your day. Stay tuned for the announcement of when you're good to donate.
Cheers.
Bye now.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ivan.
Thanks.